Hello, welcome to the March edition of Occupy Reports. This afternoon we're going to be talking to the campaign manager for the Steve Woodsmall for Congress campaign. This fellow's name is Ralph Hamlett. We're glad you're here today.
Thank you very much.
I'm Ann from Occupy, and this is Lucy from Occupy. And we're on every first Tuesday of every month, live at 2 o'clock. But if you don't catch us live, you can always catch us on Mountain Stream TV on the YouTube channel or at the canarycoalition.org website under Mountain Stream TV, under Archives, under Occupy. And one more little plug before we start talking about the Woodsmall campaign. We are all about promoting the North Carolina WeThePeople.org campaign to pass a resolution, to put on the ballot in North Carolina a resolution that would make North Carolina the 20th state in the Union to support passing an amendment to the United States Constitution, Amendment number 28, which clearly states that corporations are not people and money is not free speech. Okay, thank you for listening to all that. And now let's hear about Steve Woodsmall. I just can't wait. Go ahead, Lucy. You've got the first question.
Ralph, would you tell us Steve Woodsmall's intentions regarding H.R. 676, which is expanded and improved Medicare for All Act?
Steve supports the single payer plan. And that is actually what this act refers to. Bottom line, insurance is unaffordable for most Americans. I was speaking to a young woman today, and I asked her how much she paid for her insurance, and she said $200 a month. Now, she works in a service industry, and for many people, $200 a month might not seem like much, but for her, it's a lot. I'm an alderman in Canton, North Carolina. We have our police officers, and being a small municipality, they don't make the salaries or what you would find in a big town. Let's say at most $42,000 a year. Their insurance cost $1,000 a month.
A month per person.
A month. Now that's $12,000 a year
Per person.
Well, that is for family. No, it's a little bit. I'm sorry, it's a little bit cheaper, of course, for the individual. But our police officers have a significant other. Many of them have children. They need the family plan. And that is $12,000 a year. So $42,000, suddenly it's $30,000.
And that doesn't cover deductibles or copays?
Absolutely not. And as the young woman told me today, for her $200, that is bare minimum. And what we need is a chance for people to be guaranteed health insurance. And insurance companies not to be guaranteed that they're going to have money to make their investments to pay members of their corporate board profits. Now, this would mean, of course, expanding Medicaid. And many people become fearful of this. If you think back to the Affordable Health Care Act, people were trying to scare people saying, there's going to be death squads.
Oh, pull the plug on Granny.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and probably the same thing is going to be said about an expansion of Medicaid.
Or Medicare.
Yeah, but the way it works, that the single payer, people pay more, a little bit more, for the coverage they get as they can. Which means that if you can afford more, well, you pay more in taxes, which go into these programs.
Exactly. So it's paid for by taxes.
That's right.
And if you don't make very much money, you're not paying very much taxes.
Absolutely.
But you get the same health care that everybody else gets.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we care for our citizens. We care for one another. And this is fair. And this is fair.
It is fair. I think it's fair, but there's going to be people who say, it's not fair, I worked hard, I can afford a better insurance policy, therefore I should have a better insurance policy.
Well, there are many people out there who are struggling to survive.
Just to live. Yeah.
Trying to raise a family. And many of these people do not have the insurance they need because they can't afford it. So
that's more like pull the plug on Granny right there.
absolutely. And we've got to take care of the people. In the Constitution, there's the General Welfare Clause. It says this is a responsibility of Congress. And if the people's health is not the general welfare,
exactly,
then what is? And also another clause in Section 8 says that Congress can do what is necessary and proper to achieve these ends of general welfare. And once again, if health care isn't general welfare, what is it? And we can do this, the single payer plan. We can do this through necessary and proper, and this is what Steve Woodsmall stands for.
Well, I
That's
guess
clear.
you answered that question. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So how about HR 2366, which is to discharge student loans in bankruptcy court?
The time has come. I taught at the University of North Texas some years ago.
You did, as osteopathic doctor college.
Well, I had a student, a graduate student, who was trying to seek an advanced degree, as oftentimes happens in graduate school. He met someone. They fell in love. They were married. He graduated, and his significant other graduated. The marriage lasted probably a year. I bought them a wedding gift, and I think the warranty was still in effect when the marriage ended. And the reason for this, it was the cost of their education. Students find themselves in debt. And the promise of an education, so these individuals can go out, find a job, be productive, but they're saddled with this debt that many find impossible to pay back.
They're moving from behind from the
Yes,
start.
they're moving from behind. Now, many would argue, well, this promotes laziness, this promotes bad behavior, that it's an obligation, it shouldn't be forgiven. Tell that to corporations which seek the same kind of relief.
In bankruptcy court, exactly.
Absolutely. So this, when a person finds out after doing their best that they just can't do it, then they should have the same opportunities as larger corporations to go in, to make their argument, and to have it dismissed. After all, why do we want good public schools? Why do we want community colleges, four-year institutions? It's to make sure that our people can contribute in whatever job they want and be the best that they can be in a competitive world. And We should not saddle them with a debt, which, unfortunately, many can't pay, even though they do their best. So
Exactly.
we should allow our people to be treated as equally as corporations.
All right, I guess you answered that one. I do have one more question about that. Some of the naysayers would say that if student loans are allowed to be discharged in bankruptcy court, then it will increase the number of students who take out these loans never intending to pay them back, knowing that they can just declare bankruptcy as a young person, and then in 7 years it'll go off their record and they're out of debt. So of course that leads me to the to conclude that that's just kind of a stepping stone towards free college education like they have in other first world countries.
Well, as I said, some people argue it promotes laziness.
Yeah, you did say that.
Yeah.
But I didn't, not necessarily laziness. I'm calling it gaming the system.
Oh, gaming the system. That's even better.
But the other hand, go ahead.
No,
I asked you.
Steve is an educator, and he wants to make sure that students across our area, across North Carolina, across the nation, can get the best education, an affordable education. So he will fight for reduced cost. But
And that would answer my question right
he
there.
understands. He understands that sometimes people, to be able to go, have to borrow money, especially someone from a family that cannot afford college. Where they're going to get the money? It comes through loans. And then they go out and they find a job to pay back those loans. And that's difficult to do because it's a very competitive world. And understandably so, people when they graduate college start oftentimes from the bottom up. And they grow their way. It's not their fault. And if they discover they can't fulfill their obligation, they should be allowed, they should allow it to be forgiven. Donald Trump, how many times has he filed bankruptcy? Do people say he's gaming the system? Well, he gamed the system pretty good. He's president of the United States.
So I guess what you're saying is that it's not the people gaming the system, it's the system.
I would argue so.
All right.
We got to that.
So the next question,
Ralph, what would Steve Woodsmall's position be on the HJR We the People amendment? You're laughing.
I'm laughing because we've had this conversation. When Steve and I get together and talk, we enjoy talking human to human. He does not enjoy talking to me as if I am the NRA or some other corporation out there. He understands that I am flesh and blood. We the People Amendment. And I laugh because how far we've come. The framers of the Constitution, I would argue, and I really believe this, and so does Steve, never intended for corporations to be treated as people, for their speech to be considered on par with yours or with yours. And yet, with Citizens United, that's what happened.
Or that their money was spent.
Oh, well,
yeah,
and they speak louder than you.
because they have more money.
Yes, absolutely. Or Hobby Lobby being given free exercise, also the First Amendment, but dealing with religion, so they can deny women birth control. That they can decide the issues of a woman's body. Free exercise or the corporation as a person. Just a speech. Money for a corporation. This is obscene.
So you're saying it's pretty self-evident that Woodsmall would support that issue?
From the get-go. And as a matter of fact, he is refusing to take large corporate donations. He's asking for...
that's number 5, but we can go ahead and do that one right now if you want to.
Yeah.
Sure.
Tell us what his position is about accepting money from corporations.
Steve.
And at the same time, well, you just told us what he meant by corporations as persons, so you don't have to answer that part. But what would he say about his position on accepting corporate funds?
Well,
for his campaign?
Steve, he wouldn't say, he has said every time he goes out, it's on the webpage.
So that's his public position.
That he is not going to accept corporate money. That it's the person that he's seeking donations from who believe in his message, who support his message, who support his vision.
Who can vote.
Who can vote, yeah. But even if someone can't vote and wants to contribute, that'd be fine just as well. But it's small money. It's small money. Because what corporations do, they take their money and the politician is indebted. They owe the corporations something. It's a quid pro quo. You give me the money, and then when you ask for something, wink, wink, nod, nod, you got it. You give me a couple of dollars, I'll listen, but I really want her money.
Because I'm a big corporation.
Big corporation.
And I can make sure you get that, you win the next campaign.
Yes. And unfortunately, politics has devolved into a race for the money. And to have fair elections where a person's vote counts. We've got to remove corporate greed from the mix. And this is the way we do it.
I agree with you. I want to ask another couple of questions here because we're running out of time. The first one is, how is Woodsmall supporting or not supporting Tulsi Gabbard's Oath Act to end America's reliance on fossil fuels and transition to clean energy?
Dr. Woodsmall practices what he preaches. He stands behind his words with action. And his home is close to 100% green.
Very good.
He has, he uses...
Did you say green or
green?
Green.
Green.
You were facing
Sorry. This is what we've got to do. You look at our environment, and this is not ours for the moment, but ours as long as this earth lasts, and we do. Of the legacy that we perhaps could give our children, future generations. It is this environment, because everything else will pass. We can't poison our waters. Nope. pollute our skies, cut down our trees, kill our animals, and oftentimes, again, it comes back to money, all for the sake of money.
That's the question. How do you deal with the big money interests that have put their weight behind despoiling the environment, and the many people whose livelihood depend on the destruction of the environment?
Well, we've got to re-educate people. And this bill's a start. And it's really necessary since...
this bill is a start. I agree with that.
Since President Trump took us out of the Paris Climate Accords, we are, through such action as this, saying, yeah, you may remove us from the Paris Climate Accords and make us one of, 2 other nations outside of it, but we have a federalist system, and we can do it.
Well, we do still have that system.
Yes.
Which gives me hope, yes. And one more question. Well, I've got 2 more. One more from me. That is, if you win, if the Woodsmall campaign wins or loses, and there is evidence that there has been election fraud, not voter fraud, but election fraud, as in the votes were not counted fairly, they were not collected fairly, the people allowed to vote were not selected fairly, what would the intention of the Woodsmall campaign be in that case?
Well, as long as you're not talking about voter fraud, the myth that's out there that...
election fraud.
Yeah.
That the voting machines are hacked, that people are turned away who are qualified to vote, that the votes are miscounted, that votes are thrown away and not counted.
Steve firmly believes in the 14th Amendment, and that's equal protection of the laws. No one who has the right to vote should lose that right. We have seen chances or attempts to suppress voting.
So what would he do?
What would he do? If there was evidence of it, he would ask for a recount. He would demand, even if he were to win.
Even if he won.
Even if he won. He would want the outcome to be one that was fair. And fairness is extremely important to Steve.
Not to mention honesty.
Well,
Not to
honesty
mention
and
honesty.
integrity as well.
Yes.
So we do have one more question, and that's about ranked choice voting. And I think you understand what that question means.
There's 4 candidates vying for this.
5.
Well, 5. But let's say in the Democratic
In the Democratic,
primary.
there's 3.
Mhm.
And then there's 1 Libertarian, and then there's 1 Republican.
Yeah. The 3 Democratic candidates will face off on May the 8th. Now, the way the system operates now, there may be a runoff if no one candidate gets the majority. Now, that costs money. Now, the easy way to fix that would be by rank choice voting. And the beauty of that, everybody has their voice, their vote counted.
Exactly.
And no one is a spoiler.
Right.
And if your first choice doesn't win, maybe your second choice will. So it would save money avoiding
Oh, yeah.
the runoffs. Yeah.
It would save money, save a lot of money.
Yeah.
Oh my, so we've gotten to the end. You have another minute or so if there's something you want to say to,
I would be delighted. Can y'all guess what candidate I'm supporting?
Steve Woodsmall?
Oh, you're right. I wasn't sure if I made
Tell
that
us why.
clear or
Tell
not.
us why.
Steve Woodsmall, I will say this up front, he's my friend. And that word has meaning to me. That what I see in him is someone I can count on. Someone who is fair, someone who is hardworking, someone who, if he doesn't know the answers, he tries to find them. And he cares for people. Steve Woodsmall is a fair man. And that's one of the values here in the 11th District. One of fairness. We believe that if somebody works hard, that they'll at least have a living wage, which is about $11.50.
in this part of the country.
Yeah,
It is not the minimum wage in this
No.
part of the country at this time.
$15 would probably be closer to that mark, but
Well,
at
in some
least.
parts of the country, at least $15 would be.
Yeah.
You can live on $11 or $12 an hour here. You
Yeah.
can, barely.
Yeah, well, that's a living wage, you know, and that's struggling.
With
But
no
it is not the
crises
minimum
coming
wage
up.
here.
No,
No, the minimum wage here
but
does
that's
not
the
afford
living
you
wage.
a life.
That is the
Yeah,
living wage.
exactly. Different. It's a difference.
Okay, I think I said that, didn't
Yes.
I? Yeah, good. That concerns me. But he believes in a living wage. He believes that people, as a basic right, should have health care and not have to decide whether I'm going to eat or whether I'm going to pay an insurance company for that health care. People should be treated fairly, no matter their sexual orientation, no matter color of skin, no matter, well, sex, the gender. That students ought to be treated fair when it comes to affordable education. Fairness. No veteran should be forgotten, and Steve is a retired Air Force major.
Yeah, I noticed that. He's not only a physician, he's also...
Well, no,
Veteran.
he's a PhD. He's not a physician.
Oh, he's not a physician. He's a PhD.
Uh-huh. He teaches organizational.
Oh, so I'm getting confused.
Yeah, and organizational leadership, which means he knows how to get people to work together. That's what he teaches. And you know,
Team building.
he will reach over the aisle when he can. But make no mistake about it, Steve will not sacrifice principle. And some of the questions you were asking me today were about principles.
We try to make everything about principle. This whole show is oriented towards what's fair and what's right. Did you have anything you wanted to...
Well, I think we're talking about human rights too.
Yes, we are.
He believes
Social
in
justice.
the basic human rights
That
that we need to
We've only
live
got
a decent life.
We've
Yeah,
only
that's
got
right.
about half a minute. Got 30 seconds.
Okay, well, let me throw this out. If anyone would like to look at our information, visit our website,
Exactly.
they can go to Woodsmall for Congress 2018.org.
Woodsmall for Congress 2018.org.
Yes,
Very
ma'am.
important.
All right, that's very important. Okay, thank you both for being here. Thank you for watching us today. And I hope you have a good rest of the week. And bye.
And we'll see you the first Tuesday in April,
Of April, yes.
2 o'clock.